You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. How the extraterrestrial realm crosses over into the paranormal or metaphysical. To me, it seems like most of the paranormal experiences people have are very personal. They're not experiencing this on a group level. And speaking for myself, my own spiritual or profound metaphysical experiences that I had were very personal to me, and it was based on healing my own traumas and things like that, but it was a very profound and, I would say, paranormal experience. And most of the genuine contactees are people who, and when I say contactee, that's not just necessarily extraterrestrial, having angelic experiences, out-of-body experiences, and contacting these intelligences that seemingly exist just beyond the spectrum of our perception. Yeah. Well, when it comes to this crossover between all these things, a great example of what I've seen, how I've seen this occur in people, is a gentleman that I had in my recent documentary, and his name is Scott Pace. And I know you said you have zero interest in Bigfoot, but this is just an example of about how everything somehow crosses over, even with the Bigfoot phenomena. He was a witness to not only a Bigfoot, but what he claims was a dog man that psychically communicated to him. And this gentleman, he's a very sober man. He's not on drugs. He was never interested in the paranormal before. He's a humble hunter that goes to church every Sunday, and he likes to go out into the woods and hunt deer on the weekends. So no interest in any of that crazy stuff, this woo-woo stuff. But he had this one experience, couldn't explain it. After that, he starts having paranormal encounters in his home. These things tend to follow him home. He starts having not only sightings of Bigfoots, but what he can only explain as gray aliens. And then he starts having missing times and strange out-of-body experiences and dreams that he can't really put his finger on because they're different from his normal experiences. So what are your thoughts on how this can occur? It just seems to crack open your perception if you have this one experience.
And on Bigfoot, that's another one of those, like extraterrestrials. I think Bigfoot exists. I think, it's a real thing. It just doesn't grab me. It's like, oh, okay. It just doesn't grab me, but I don't think it's not true. Now, what I find really interesting is what you just mentioned, is how people have a Bigfoot sighting and then all sorts of other stuff starts manifesting. Now, I've had my one bona fide UFO experience. There was another person with me witnessing the same thing in December of 2014. And it was astonishing. I talk about it on my YouTube channel, Walter Bosley channel at YouTube. And it's one of my older videos from a couple years ago. And here's why the paranormal hypothesis relative to UFOs, for example, and these other things, because just like I think ETs exist, I also think the paranormal, the other ultra-dimensional, whatever, I think these things are real. Not every claim and not every case presented is true. No, I don't think that. There's a lot of lies and BS in the paranormal community. But these things are real. And I think there's been many, 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 many more people who have encountered these things than have encountered an ET UFO. Now, why do I think that? Why is that more interesting to me? Because these are things that on the spectrum, our spectrum of reality, they share our world. They're just somewhere else on that spectrum. They don't have to travel light years to get to us. They can access us much more easily, individually. And you're right that in saying that it usually helps you with your personal development. And that's more why they do it than just, hey, we're here. They're trying to get your attention, so that you can realize that there's much more to our reality than just simply what we see and feel, and our material science can measure readily. I find this to be much more interesting because it does play with time. It plays with spatial realities. To me, it's so much more fascinating than an ET UFO encounter.
It makes me wonder if it is all part of our own psyche, like some sort of egregoric manifestation. Just because we had this experience, we start creating these other experiences with our own consciousness. What do you think about that?
I think that, and I'm going to invoke the name and hopefully won't do it in the wrong way like a lot of people do, but I think that that Carl Jung was coming to understand something about the UFO and the source of the UFO, and that was whatever and whoever this intelligence is, they can reach into the individual's psyche and manifest their appearance in a way for that individual that speaks to that individual. Okay? For the purpose of really communicating on an archetypal level, communicating in a way that your body, your soul, your mind truly understands and comprehends that you are having a real experience here, and it's telling you something. So in a sense, is this a word? Egregorical. I don't know if that's a word. It might be egregorical, but it's more like what they called the glamoury of the fairy folk.
Yeah.
At this point is when I usually tell people, run, don't walk, to the works of Joshua Cutchin, specifically his one, The Ecology of Souls.
Yeah. He was my Halloween guest last year.
There you go. Yeah. And look at the works of Jacques Vallée up to the early 90s when he was talking about one of my favorite topics, the Tuatha Dé Danann, and how much fairy lore and the mystical, mysterious others really pop up in a lot of so-called ET UFO encounters and experiences. We share this spectrum of reality with some others who show themselves to us as they please, and I think, yes, on an individual basis, because they don't care to put on a show for the masses. They know they're real, and once they show themselves to you, you will know that they're real. And here's the interesting thing about experiences like that. Okay, speaking for myself, the number of experiences along those lines that I've had, I've come away, I don't feel the need to, I could, make more money, certainly, at conferences and on shows and everything, and putting books out there. I could really make a lot of hay, make a lot of money talking about, my encounters with these beings and that. But you know what? The more that I've had these encounters, the less desire I have to take advantage of them in that way. The less need I have to convince people. I mean, there's going to be people right now watching this who are going to say, "Oh, that jerk! He's just a jerk. I've heard him talk elsewhere. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's making it up." Blah blah blah. Okay, what I've come away with personally, with these experiences that I've had, is much, much, much more valuable to me than some person out there listening believing me. Because here's the thing. They have an opportunity, if they want, to experience all this stuff for themselves if they choose, if they're open to it. But the fact is, this scares a lot of people. The ideas we're talking about right now.